Hey everyone, as discussed in the daily financial news, we do that show extra early on Thursdays because we have our expert series starting at 7:30 a.m. with Jonathan Twomley. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing great, Michael. Good to see you again after a couple of weeks.
Absolutely. Well, it's Thursday, and you know what that means. It means we got to talk about unemployment claims. I actually look forward to the day that this is a non-topic, but it's been disappointing for a couple of weeks, even after a pretty good report on March employment. So why don't we catch people up? What's been going on with unemployment claims? Because frankly, they've disappointed for 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, they have actually risen
Mhm.
substantially, and the forecast was under 700,000 for this week. It came out at 744. Last week was revised upward by 9 or 10,000,
Mhm.
and I think it just it highlights the fact that we're not out of the woods.
Yeah.
Even though the economy is recovering, there are still a lot of you know businesses that just couldn't make it. And I think that's what you're still seeing, the businesses that, how we're just holding on, and just couldn't hold on any longer.
Yeah.
I wonder also too whether what we're seeing is, those businesses that had PPP money that have run out of PPP money, even though there's a second tranche available,
Mhm.
and now they've had to basically terminate all those people that they
Yeah.
didn't terminate before. So it's it, that's uh, disappointing, obviously, but at least now it's happening in an environment where we've got pretty substantial new job growth.
Yeah.
Um, so hopefully those people will start to get absorbed faster. I mean, unemployment, the rate did decline, which suggests that there's net job creation,
Mhm.
right? Which is good. Most of the job creation has been kind of where we expected it to be, which is in travel and hospitality and stuff like that,
Mhm.
because those are the people who got thrown out of work. They're now coming back to work as things are opening up. But again, when now we're seeing a spike in coronavirus cases pretty much everywhere because people are letting their guard down.
Yeah.
They're like 20 feet from home plate and they're starting to walk rather than continuing to run, right? So um, you know, it's it'd be horrible to have like a huge resurgence in cases and have to shut stuff down again just when we're so close to the finish line. But
Yeah, I don't think there's any chance that things get shut down again. I think it's just going to be a race to get jabs and arms, and I think what people are calling it these days. Even California, right? Our lovely guy is talking about opening up pretty much everything by June 15th, right? He's put a stake in the ground, and really what we're doing here is I think California lowered it to 50 to get the jab, and I think on April 15th, I think it's like 15 or 18 or something.
yeah,
I
we're
think it
down
might
to
be 18 every adult. Yeah.
we're down to 16 in New York now, and you know it's kind of amazing. Pretty much every day I see people posting on like the my local neighborhood groups on Facebook, like,
Mhm.
hey, this pharmacy's got extra shots, this pharmacy's got extra shots. So all that is good news. If we
Yeah.
can continue to get folks vaccinated and just beat this thing back, that would be the best option, right? So we'll keep our fingers crossed that the trend continues that
Yeah.
way.
So back to the jobs front, I've been playing this with a while because usually we talk Thursdays. We missed last week for spring break. So we've only had 1 week where unemployment claims broke below 700,000, and
Yeah,
that is now 2 weeks ago. I was really looking forward to that trend. It didn't happen. Is it the businesses? Maybe there were. I guess there could have been a lot of businesses. Maybe it was the PPP stuff that's like, hey, like your analogy you just said, they got to 20 feet of home plate and they just ran out of money. Right? There's no more cash in the kitty. You got to stop. Maybe. I mean, the other thing I hear people complaining about today is backlog of systems, right? There's actually
right.
more and more people working, i.e., California gets pointed out all the time because of our systems are so bad that now it's just a backlog of unemployment claims. And I'm like, well, if that's true, then we've been underreporting for like a year. So,
Right.
I mean, stop telling me it's systems, right? The data has been equally bad. So, um, I do think this month, right? We've got, I think, three more reports. Yeah, three more reports. I think we are going to start to see the trend get under 700,000. So I'll
Yeah.
put that out there, but I think it has to
I,
happen.
I mean, the continuing claims, dropped slightly, but they didn't drop as much as expected
Oh yeah, it
to.
was a whisper. It's like 16,000 on a 3.3 number or something. Yeah.
Yeah, so just it could just be noise, but you'd like to think it's the trend in the right direction. But still, there's a lot of there's a lot of businesses that
Mhm.
uh, have gone away, and a lot of businesses that are still um, you know going to be delayed in opening. And
Yeah.
I always point to like my wife's work as the prime example of this. Like
Yep.
there are just not going to be tourists coming from Japan until both the U.S. and Japan, aggressively deal with their COVID problem. And in
Yep.
Japan, they've got an anemic vaccination rate. I mean, it's like they've barely even begun. So,
Interesting.
and I think there are a few other countries around the world where that's the same. The U.S. has been fortunate because the vaccines have been developed here in large part, but a lot of other countries just are not aggressively,
Yeah.
going forward with vaccination. So um, it's going to keep international travel. Americans are all sort of up in arms about like, oh, vaccine passport, and I don't want to have to,
Yeah.
prove that I got a vaccine or whatever to go abroad. But hey, you know, this should be focusing more about let's turn that around. Like, you guys want a whole bunch of unvaccinated people like coming to the United States to travel? Like, do you
Yeah.
really?
Yeah.
And it's not going to happen, right? Because we're not going to let it happen.
Right.
But that means that the tourism, we may have the internal tourism returning, but those international tourists
Yeah.
are not going to be flooding into the places where they usually come for quite some time.
Yeah, I think it's local tourism certainly much of this year. Maybe there's a chance for Q4 kind of maybe, but yeah, I think it's local tourism. But I mean, I still think back to the unemployment thing that where we're adding jobs is unquestionably the right areas, right? That was a big takeaway from the March data for me was hospitality. It was hundreds of thousands of jobs, right? We shut down one lane of our highway, kind of that service sector, and it's
Yeah.
coming back. And everything points to it coming back faster than people think. I mean, you talk about airlines are hiring pilots now and hotels are at 70% bookings, and it's just popping off now. This summer is going to be amazing.
I mean, this is totally anecdotal, but as you know, I was in upstate New York last week on spring break, and there were just force, hot people, job wanted everywhere, like
Yeah.
jobs posting. Every store I went into had a sign out front. And surprisingly, some of it was even in like the places that haven't been like Lowe's, right? Lowe's doesn't seem to have had its business affected a whole lot
Mhm.
over the last year because everyone's been like doing home improvement projects, but even they're like ramping up for more of what I don't know what else they're going to sell, but
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like maybe it's all the summer stuff, it's all the lawn furniture and stuff
Oh,
that they
maybe.
didn't
Yeah.
sell last year, but they're ramping up. And I just saw it with a lot of the, just a lot of the stores upstate. And
Yeah.
that is a, a pretty good,
Yeah.
tourism area, and which actually benefited a lot from COVID because nobody could go abroad, right? Where they usually went, they had to do
Hmm.
driving vacation.
Yeah.
But they're expecting another big year up there. So
Yeah.
um,
Well, again, I think what I'll say on the unemployment front, and we'll wrap this up and get to a McKinsey study and a zoning discussion in episode 2 and 3 is we're on the cusp of putting this behind us. The data's not, the data's had a couple of bad weeks. I'm not going to argue why it just did, but I think it turns around this month. So I think better days are ahead. Is that a fair estimate?
well, yeah, it's just a matter of when, right? I mean, is it better days ahead next week, or is it better days ahead, in a couple months? But I agree with you. I mean, I think things, just the faster we get more people vaccinated, and people start doing stuff that they haven't done for a long time, it's things are going to get better. So
Yeah.
that's all good news,
I
right?
think this summer is going to be the craziest. People are just going to I mean, yeah, it's going to be a wild, wild summer. So I look forward to it. I want to smile more.
I do want to add sort of one point before we
Yep.
close this topic. There's been a couple of, I don't know if you saw this, but some varying predictions about when we're going to get back to full employment.
Hmm.
Bank of America actually came out the other day very aggressively and said they believe we'll be at full employment by the end of the year. Uh,
I did
that
not see that.
that's kind of an outlier, though. Powell has said next year is when they believe the economy will get back to full employment. Um, but Bank of America is very, very, very bullish.
Well,
right
let's
now.
just play
And
that out. All right. If that was true, if we the only way I think we get back to full employment by Christmas, essentially, right,
yeah,
is if we have significant wage inflation. I mean, if you have that much competition for bodies, one of the outputs going to be higher income and higher wages because people are just going to
yeah.
be pulling from the same pool. That could be a problem,
Well,
frankly. That
except that
might,
there are a lot. Well, but I don't know because there are a lot of people who are out of work, right? So you're still bringing back
yeah,
people.
job. I mean, you don't
You're
have to go
still
back to the same job though, right? You can go elsewhere.
well, and some people won't be able to go back to the same job,
Yeah,
right? Because
that's
some of
true.
those places are gone.
Yeah, yeah.
So so I'm not sure if we're necessarily going to get inflation as a result of that. Maybe a little bit, but I do think it's pretty aggressive. But Bank of America is saying, look, we've got the double tailwinds of
Hmm.
people getting vaccinated and this huge stimulus package, which was passed.
Yeah.
And look, if the infrastructure package also goes through,
Oh,
then you're going to see
yeah.
like the economy on steroids, and then you might have an overheating problem. That'll be interesting to see what happens. The Fed will have to raise interest
Oh,
rates, and
have to.
and then we'll just go, then everything is all bets are off. So,
Yeah.
uh,
Well, on that
we'll see.
happy topic, we'll end this episode and we'll go on to episode number 2. Thanks, buddy.